understand the impermanence of things and lose attachment to all these, the whole world is going to get destroyed. It's totally illogical, irrational for us to try and accumulate things for us. If you take the land issue in the country, in Sri Lanka, if people go on believing that I have to possess the land that I want, very soon we are going to run out of land. Land has to be owned in common, or at least it has to be utilized in common. In fact, in villages where we work with small home gardens and so on, we try to bring them together. They can do their own plot of land on their own, but coming to sharing of seeds and knowledge and sharing of labor and marketing and so on, they have to come together. Otherwise, they can't build enough strength. So, therefore, we have to go back to that, no. So, therefore, ultimately humanity has to recognize that we have to work together as human beings, we have to work in harmony with nature, we have to recover the positive relationships that we have to have with nature and with other human beings. So, that understanding is essential.
Can you talk a little about Mon Law, when you got involved, how you got involved, the birth of it, and up to now what you have achieved?
Well, maybe I no.
We stopped at the point where you finished your study of the free trade.
Yes.
That was where we stopped and we deviated in our conversation.
Right. Now, I did that free trade zone study when I was at SEDEC. I got a good understanding of the whole economy of the country and of the world. With that understanding, I worked there. Then, but I had to, of course, I had in my own study, my own research, the executive committee that comprised of big business leaders didn't agree with me. Therefore, I left, and I left and joined another organization where I could work much closer to the farmers' movement. So, we were working much closer with the farmers' movement. Then we tried to make it more systematic by doing more systematic studies and research and studying about the farmers' issues, so that we could educate them more. We were doing that, and we started a center called Peasant Information Center in Ibagumo. We still have that. Then came the second uprising of the JVP. When the whole political situation got destabilized, there were a lot of killings. That time we were considered to be not friends of the JVP, we were looked upon as enemies, because we supported devolution of power to the Tamil people. Therefore, there was disagreement on that issue. Anyway, we had lots of problems. About 30 of our activists got killed. Some of them were killed by the state forces, some of them were killed by the JVP. So, then we had to think very seriously about our role. Now, we understood, at least we had to analyze the reasons for this social upheaval, because that was the second experience. We were part of the first experience, 71, this was the second experience. And in our understanding, in our analysis, what we found was that there was a very serious crisis in the whole economy of the country. Therefore, there is a social and a political crisis. The crisis in the economy was its inability to look into, to absorb the young people effectively into the economy. Right now, the rural economy was weak and becoming weaker. Therefore, it was not able to cater to the increasing young population in the villages. Therefore, young people were trying to get out of the rural villages, get out of agriculture. There was no opportunity. Therefore, they rebelled. Therefore, strengthening the rural economy was one of the effective solutions. So, that is the first thinking behind Mon Law. And that time Premadasa, the President Premadasa appointed a youth commission, presidential commission on youth. We gave evidence and submitted a written document where we said the crisis was because of this crisis in the economy. Therefore, solutions have to be found to that crisis. The second one was, he appointed the task force, a presidential task force on the land distribution and utilization. To that we also made our submission and said, mere distribution and utilization of land won't help. You got to have a total reform in the whole pattern of agriculture in the country. And we then, having said that, we started discussing it among people, making an analysis of the situation of crisis in the country. This uprising was one. There was a very serious issue of increasing rural poverty. There was lots of unemployment, lots of malnutrition. Then suicides were very heavy, and there was economic disparities. Income disparities were one of the, we were only next to Brazil in income disparities. So all these were due to wrong economic policy. That was our analysis. Therefore, we said, in order to correct this, we got to have a different approach to the whole development process, not the World Bank led, market led economy. So that was the beginning of the thinking behind Monla. From that time, we started having educational programs, seminars, workshops continuously, about 2-3 every week in some part of the country. We were invited island wide, and we had a very extensive program. About 1.5-2 years later, we had an assembly when 130 odd organizations came and joined with us because they agreed with our analysis. That was the formation of Monla. So we produced the policy document where we said a genuine land and agricultural reform was needed. Now, from that time, we have been working on this, criticizing the existing World Bank led, market led economy and all its associated components, and also talking of the need to have a more people friendly, rational, sustainable type of economy. Now, in doing that, we came across this idea of ecological agriculture as one of the most effective ways of reviving the rural economy, right. So, after several years, we found that our own education was not enough. We had to prove that it works. Therefore, we tried implementing this kind of strategy in rural villages, and we started educating people about ecological agriculture. So, what we do now is about 10-15 years now, where we get village communities, and then we have an initial discussion with them about their whole situation of poverty and hunger and so on, and what was wrong with their agriculture, what was wrong with chemical farming, what was wrong with input dependent agriculture, and what was wrong with the trade system and the government economic policies and so on. After that, we train them to do ecological agriculture. Basic things are, first thing is to have soil conservation. If your land is getting eroded, you have to prevent erosion by making ridges and also mulching. Prevent soil erosion because soil has to get fertile. Then to have diversified crops so that you make maximum use of sunlight, reduce pest diseases and improve soil fertility and water retention. Third thing is to avoid chemical agriculture because it destroys your soil, it destroys your food, destroys your water, and it makes agriculture very expensive. So, there are about 5-6 components: recycling, conservation, recycling and diversity. These are the basic principles on which we train rural communities to do it, and then we get them to do their planting. In each plot of land, you prepare a plan, look at where the slope is, then build ridges, then also mark places where you can plant various trees, large trees, small trees combined, and then we go through with that program, and we have done that very effectively. In fact, people are very interested in this. Then after several years of this, we thought that there were so many different organizations doing similar work. So, we thought we must make a network of these organizations, and we did a study. In 2004, we made a study of organizations in the country who were involved in ecological agriculture of small farmers of some type, and we found about 500 such organizations. So, we wanted to bring them together into some